All right. This is week 5, and we're going to be talking over uh, the slides real quick. That's going to be the application of the 10 core concepts by Chloe Charles. If you have the textbook, it's going to help you to follow along with it. Then we'll go ahead and do some questions afterward, and we'll talk a little bit about where we're going in the next few weeks. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. Starting off with the first slide here, talk about Chloe. Okay, so Yagelski's chapter 4 is a narrative about one of his students from SUNY Albany, by the name of Chloe Charles, and how her process for writing an essay for his class aligns with the 10 core concepts. Now, concepts are going to be worded differently in their application in the chapter, but it's the same ones that we talked about earlier. As we go through Chloe's process, you're going to want to apply some of what she does on her paper to what you're doing for the analysis scholarship essays. Okay. Now, some of this we did last week with the journaling exercise that I gave you guys in class during the lecture, while other parts should be happening in the drafting or revision stages of the process. These are all things that you should be doing as you are going along writing your essays. So let's start with at the first step here. If you want to follow along in chapter 4, in my abridged version, I am on page 87. Okay. So starting with discovering and exploring a topic. So to make a long story short, Chloe's family had some trouble during the recession of the late 2000s. Recession 2007 specifically caused her dad to lose a journalism job. He wound up having to go back to school so he could earn a teaching certificate. The thing is, though, is that made Chloe question whether college was really worth it at all, because her dad had a degree, but then had to go back to get more training just to get something that he could use his degree for. Whereas her grandfather, on the other hand, he never went to college, but he had made his own way as a businessman and had not had to go to college at all, and had been really successful in their town. I'm not mistaken, I think she lives in Syracuse, so he had a business selling sports equipment. Okay. So this is influencing her topic selection for this essay. Okay. The instructor gave them assignment asking students to examine a question related to the purpose of college. Okay. So Chloe's question is college for everyone? So then she's going to think about the question further through readings that she's going to do for class. Okay. The one that they specifically cite in here is a passage from John Henry Newman, who is a 19th century thinker. Newman has claimed that higher learning is a basic human need. Okay. This helps her to select her working topic, so she chose to look at the history of higher education in the United States. So that's how she did the exploration part. Okay. Now, we can relate this to what you guys are doing because you're looking for those scholarship essay topics, and some of them are forcing you to try to think a little bit more obliquely when it comes to how you're going to analyze things. I've had a number of people sending me questions about that. Certain questions are going to be better than others. I will give this blanket assessment for you guys if you're still looking for a topic. If your scholarship is asking you to basically tell them about yourself, you're going to want to try to pick a different scholarship, because that particular essay is not going to allow you to analyze. Okay, if you're just talking about yourself, that's not really doing a good analysis of anything. You're basically just selling yourself. Okay. We want to have some opportunity where you have to analyze a complex topic and show that you understand the topic based on your analysis. Okay, so let's go to step 2.
What did you say?
Oh, we are at step 1 still. I'm sorry. All right, Chloe's reading about education, including the Newman essay and another work by Charles Murray. Okay, they mentioned Murray here somewhere.
Huh?
Let's see. There he is. He just mentioned in passing. Combined with her evaluation of her stepfather's circumstances and those of her grandfather, who had not attended college but nonetheless became a successful businessman in his own right, while her stepfather lost a journalism job and had an exceedingly hard time finding new employment. Okay, so she combined all that stuff to come up with the ideas for her essay. She felt confident enough in her knowledge of the topic to adjust her question to focus the essay on the ultimate idea. There's two questions that she winds up working with. First question is, why is it expected in American society that everyone should pursue a college education? The second is, where does this expectation come from? So when she went to news feeds online to inform her viewpoint on her topic. And from there, she just crafted her discovery draft. So on pages 90 and 91, we have snippets from that discovery draft. Okay, if you don't have the textbook with you, I can go ahead and read a few of these for you. If you do have textbook, go ahead and follow along with me. So one of the excerpts, okay, this is a passage about her stepfather. Most people think of college as a research degree so that entering the job force they will receive a higher paying job. However, this is not true for everyone, especially in my family. When I was young, my stepfather had a job in my hometown news station. He was a journalist and an editor. He loved his job and was one of the most qualified people there, having earned a bachelor's degree in English with a minor in communications. But all of this was not enough for him to keep his job during the recession of 2007. After many months with no success finding a job, he had to go back to school to get a new degree so he could get a new job to support our family, one he could keep. Okay. We have another excerpt that talks about integrating Newman and Murray. Okay. This is examining her family experience and raising important questions about the value of college degree. Here we go. Many Americans in past decades successful lives without earning college degrees, but now times have changed. Many people today question the value of a college degree and wonder why college has become the expected path for high school graduates. One reason is that college became much more accessible after World War I. Before that war, there was little fluctuation in college attendance rates, but after the Great Depression ended in the 1940s, more Americans began to go to college. This increase happened partly because many people believed that they could earn more money in the long run if they obtained a college degree. That was true. In 1975, a person with a bachelor's degree earned about 1.5 times more in yearly pay than did someone with only a high school diploma. There are also many social and intellectual benefits of attending college that students can take advantage of to create successful careers. Having a college education can lead to better health, living arrangements, and lifestyle. Another important factor that helps explain the increase in the number of Americans attending college was changing societal norms in the United States. Prior to 1965, mostly white men, usually from upper middle or upper classes, were seen and welcomed on college campuses. African Americans and women were not encouraged to attend college. College was also a financial hardship for many families. Then in 1965, Congress passed the Higher Education Act, which helped the general population obtain financial aid to attend the college of their choice. As well, federal aid for higher education increased from $655 million in 1955 to $3.5 billion in 1965. This increase in funding made tuition prices affordable for many. And as societal norms began to change, so did the demographics in college populations. Many universities were more open to diversity due to the Civil Rights Act, which was passed in 1964, and attitudes about gender began to change as well. Colleges all over the country began to welcome students of any race, culture, gender, etc. This made attending an institution of higher learning for virtually anyone who possessed a high school diploma and the necessary financial resources possible. Okay, the third excerpt here is from the proposal for her argument assignment, and she is pursuing these ideas that she'd been writing about from the previous assignments. So she's been trying to integrate all of this stuff that she's been talking about and creating a proposal for the final argument she wants to write. So this is her paragraph. For my argument, I want to look at what happened historically that made acquiring a higher education a necessity in the U.S. I want to learn when and why this became the norm, since historically most people did not need a college degree to live a successful life. I want to see what national events shaped this view. Understanding what makes people believe that college is so important will help me answer the question that we have been asked frequently in our class. Okay? So those really form the basis for her discovery draft and how she's going to go about looking for her information. All right, so the next is examining the rhetorical context. Okay. Now, Chloe's primary audience is going to be her classmates, but she also has decided that her topic would be of general interest to many college-age young people, including those possibly debating whether college is worth the expense. Okay. So again, she wrote a proposal for the essay which tried to anticipate the audience's expectations. In this proposal, she also acknowledged that her audience would extend to scholars and experts in the educational field, who might be looking at what the typical student's mindset might be. So she's considering the full context of the paper. It's written. In this case, it's being written in the year 2015. This is 8 years removed from the recession, where people were still feeling the effects. And also, as the 2016 presidential race was bringing education as a campaign issue. As I mentioned in the video, this is around the time that Bernie Sanders was starting his first presidential run, and one of the big things that he ran on and still believes in is free college for all. Okay? Free public college for all, at least. The place where she's writing is New York. This is significant because tuition rates in New York were rising steadily for years despite the slowed economy. No matter what the average income was, no matter what the financial circumstances were, New York public colleges were always asking for more money and raising tuitions. Okay, I actually know this firsthand because I attended in that system for approximately 5 years. Okay, so yeah, from fall of 2000. No, excuse me, spring of 2006 to spring of 2010. So that would actually be about 4 years. My bad. So anyway, so tuition rates are still high no matter what. Then the purpose of the paper is understanding of American ideas about higher education in order to have a better informed outlook. So she's looking at why we are so focused on this in order to understand what's makes that mindset go and why college is so important. So Chloe found that she needed to revise her working question after all of the work she did preparing the essay, like all the discovery drafting and the research and stuff. So she revised her question into, is college worthwhile for everyone? Okay. After all the work she did to analyze her rhetorical situation, Chloe went back to her discovery draft and refined it. She identified areas that required further thought or research, including further readings that informed the Newman and Murray essays. Okay, so she is now working through her discovery draft. She is adding to it. She is adjusting things as she learns new information. Step 3 is select the appropriate medium. Chloe's assignment was a traditional college writing project, which meant a conventional academic essay to be submitted as a Word or PDF file to the instructor. Okay, she doesn't have a lot of leeway on this, but she is going to work within that particular format and the particular medium, and use it to the best of her ability. Part of the convention of this medium includes expectations for research sources. So Chloe chose a number of popular sources supplemented by several academic essays and scholarly journal articles, as well as a report from the U.S. Department of Education. In general, you want to make government sources are going to be fairly reliable for use in research. That's typically the rule. I would make an addendum to that to say that I would not make that 100% reliable from 2018 onward. Okay. All right. So step 4, have something to say. To ensure she had a strong argument for her paper, Chloe crafted a statement for the essay. Okay. As I mentioned, it's kind of long. Okay. She revisited her main question as it had been adjusted previously. So, is college worthwhile for everyone? Based on her readings and her discovery draft, she began formulating a thesis statement, which is on page 94. And this is how it reads. Various social and economic developments, along with government policies in the past century, have resulted in a dramatic increase in the number of Americans who attend college, and today many students feel pressure to go to college. However, many students might be attending college because of the societal pressure rather than pursue other career paths that would be right for them. Now, she took that and compared it to her thesis question, decided the thesis did not encompass the larger question for essay, which is actually the value of college, not necessarily whether it's worth it to people. Okay. So she revised her thesis statement that appears on page 95. Page 95 shows various social and economic developments along with government policies in the past century was the increased number of Americans in college. Many students feel pressure to go to college rather than pursue for lead to a better
very long.
Market. Some students are questioning the whether college is worth the high student debt, of whether college while college goes beyond the college effective might earn. Hopefully they're going to resolve sometime soon. What's going on? Okay, I'm having some major signal issues here, so bear with me. We're going to go to slide 5, or step 5. Back up what you say. Using her guiding thesis statement as a filter, Chloe identified. Hang on a second here. Okay. Why is it? Yeah, it's showing me connection problems. All right, I'm going to try to work through this here. All right, I'm trying to share video again. We're going to work through this. Okay. So step 5, back up what you say. Using her guiding thesis statement as a filter, Chloe identified the claims she was going to make in the essay, picking them from her discovery draft. Now those claims are listed here on this slide. College has become an expectation for many students today. Federal education policies, as well as social and political developments over the past century, have led to an increase in the number of Americans who attend college. The pressure to attend college might prevent some students from pursuing other career opportunities that are right for them. Recent economic developments have made attending college much more challenging for many students. College generally leads to better jobs, and college has value that goes beyond getting a better job. Now, she reorganized these claims into an outline with 2 major main claims and the rest as supporting reasons. This outline's on page 96, if you care to take a look at it here. So we have 2 main claims. Main claim 1, college has become an expectation for many students in the U.S. And main claim 2, college is worthwhile in several different ways. This is going to basically form the framework for her essay. Okay. From there, she's using some of the other ideas she pulled from the discovery draft into subclaims here. For instance, one of the subclaims, federal education policies as well as social and political developments over the past century increased in the number of Americans who attend college. The pressure to attend college might prevent some students from pursuing other career opportunities that are right for them. Recent economic developments have made attending college much more challenging for many students. Those are subclaims for college becoming an expectation. Now, under the main claim, college is worthwhile in several different ways. She has these as her subclaims. College generally leads to better jobs, and college has value that goes beyond getting a better job. All right, so that's how she's got them organized into an outline. The next part is going to be step 5, back up what you say. Okay. Now, the discovery draft already contained some of Chloe's key claims, which she was able to add to with the research she had done. Okay. So she is going to be mostly working with her discovery draft and just refining it. Combining her further research with the contents of the discovery draft to write her initial rough draft. Text of which is on pages 97 through 100. I'm not going to read it here because it's really long and I don't want to drag this on too long. Not only that, there's a lot of questionable claims that she makes in this essay, which are going to wind up being fixed in revisions. All right, so next slide to step 6, establishing a form and structure. So Chloe was not limited to an organizational structure for the assignment, so she reviewed the rhetorical situation for the essay in determining the form. Uh, three areas in particular. One is genre. It's an informed argument which is organized around her two main claims. Okay. Second is the medium. It's going to be conventional academic essay in MLA format. And third is the rhetorical situation, which is primarily concerned with informing the audience and persuading the audience that college is worthwhile, but not necessarily best for everyone. Right. So when she's reorganizing the essay, the organization's first going to focus on historical analysis, argument about whether college is right for everyone. So some thought with regarding the transition is going to be needed, though, as well as clarification. So that leads us to her developing an outline. Her basic organization surrounds with sounds, so she focused on organizing the supporting information. She didn't need to reorganize how she set up her claims, but now she's working on the support for it. While she not used one of her initial drafting because it was a good distraction, she chose this time to construct a full outline for the essay, which includes how she's going to present the informing information that's going to back up her claims. If you compare this outline to the initial draft, it kind of shows how imbalanced the original draft was, which focused more on the historical norms and not enough on the argument itself that about whether college is worth it for certain students. Okay. Now, using this outline, she has a plan for revision, but she's going to wait until she gets her peer review. Okay, she gets her peer feedback before she fully revises the essay. Okay. Now, in the peer feedback, this is when she starts getting the information that she needs to fix this. So during an in-class workshop session, Chloe received feedback in both written and verbal forms from her classmates. The instructor gave specific questions and guidance for the session, but Chloe was more concerned about the strength of her argument with her peers and audience. She later consulted with the instructor about revisions. Now, the feedback that Chloe's classmates gave her identified her strengths and weaknesses. For instance, strengths, the topic was interesting and relevant. There was an anecdote about her great-grandfather, which was very strong. The question also resonated with the audience. Okay? Then we have the weaknesses of it. Weaknesses of analysis is sometimes hard to follow. Had inadequate representation of alternative viewpoints on the value of college. Okay? So it didn't do enough to show what the alternative is. Okay? Her instructor also pointed out a lack of complexity at points. Now, I'll take you through some of these notes here. They have a sample draft here with the notes from her workshopping group. Okay. Yelsky mentions in his text that there's feedback here from 3 of her classmates named Ashley, Bart, and Bethany. And then the rest of the feedback is done by Joe, which is her instructor. Okay. So, for instance, the students don't really give her much feedback here. Bethany and Ashley give her 1 comment each. Bethany, at the very start, begins, I especially like how you begin with the anecdote about your great-grandfather. It makes the topic seem more personal, more real. And then you get to Ashley. I found this point a little hard to follow, when she's talking about students of different backgrounds being able to attend the college of their choice. Specifically, why exactly would lowering the cost of college make people work harder? And what are they looking forward to in the future? I think I get what you're trying to say, but your point will be stronger if you're a bit clearer here. Now, Bart has 2 comments. One is a positive one at the beginning here. I like the way you start your essay with your great-grandfather's successful experiences, and then move on to the question of why you should attend college. And then his second comment is another positive one when he's talking about historical approach. I think your historical approach helps us understand the issue. I like the fact that you're looking at how norms are changing. And I think it's good that you look back into the early 1900s. Okay. Now we get into Joe's comments, which are a little bit more critical. Okay. some of this is also in terms of fact checking. Okay, a lot of Joe's stuff is fact checking some assumptions that Chloe made that were incorrect. Okay, to give for instance here near Bob page 105. In Chloe's comment, prior to 1965, only white men, usually from the upper or middle class, were seen and welcome on college campuses. To which Joe responds, "But my mom graduated from college in 1960." Okay. Following that, she has a comment: African Americans and women were not seen as candidates for due to their status in society and because of the hardship in receiving financial aid from universities. To which Joe responds, "Yes, that's true. But what about women's colleges and historically black colleges? Women and African Americans could attend those, right? Your statements here oversimplify the situation at the time." So that's what I'm talking about, lack of complexity in the commentary that she got. Okay, she's kind of oversimplifying some of her facts and looking past some things and skipping some things. In fact, the next comment on the very top of page 106 says the same thing. Mentions the when she talks about aid for higher education and the Pell Grant program. Okay, Joe compliments her for mentioning those, but then says she's still oversimplifying. Good. These two important government programs affected college attendance, but were there others that were as important? I know the GI Bill helped many Americans go to college after World War II. She had totally forgotten about the GI Bill, which, if you're not familiar with it, it allows service members to go to college completely on the dime of the U.S. government, as long as they have been, as long as they're either a reservist or they are honorably discharged. Okay. That was actually came about when people started coming back from World War II and wanted some kind of training or education in order to resume their civilian lives. Okay, so Chloe's instructor went through the draft and gave detailed commentary in regards to content, addressing concerns about lack of complexity and alternative viewpoints. Feedback was generally complementary to each other without any contradictions to reconcile. Everybody kind of agreed what was going on in the essay. There wasn't really anything that Chloe had to try to reconcile between people with different viewpoints. Next step, revise. Okay. Chloe used her feedback from the workshop session and from her instructor to create a plan of attack for the next draft. She clarified the main argument, made it more obvious what the argument was she was trying to make. She included alternative viewpoints, not necessarily just staying with her own viewpoint, which was kind of skewed. She had to try to find a wider range of experiences. Okay, clarify the historical analysis. She had to make it a little bit more complex. She had to be a little bit more detailed about it. That goes in the next one as well. Avoid oversimplification. She didn't want to try to make it so that she's making blanket statements about stuff and leaving out facts that would actually contradict that. The opening paragraph was revised to establish the focus more clearly. Okay. You can see these revisions as we go along. The page numbers I've noted in the slide here show you where those drafts, original drafts and revision passages are. Okay. Passages with oversimplified claims were filled out with further details. Okay. New materials added to address affirmative perspectives on the value of college and add depth. Other revisions address some other pertinent points. Elaborate on the analysis. Okay. So she's trying to get a little bit more detailed and a little bit more precise in terms of how she's analyzing the topic. She had to clarify important points. Okay, what are some things that were not exactly clear in her original draft, but now she has to try to clarify them. She had to support her claims. She needed more factual support for her reasonings. And then she had to strengthen the main argument. Okay. So the main thing that she had to do was a lot of revisions to factual information and some strengthening to her argument itself. The next part of the revision process then is form. Okay. There are other revisions she had to make to strengthen the form by reorganizing claims, eliminating unnecessary material, and adding to or strengthening transitions. She was worried about transitions, if you recall, between her main claim and her second claim. So she had to try to strengthen those transitions so that it's a little bit, so that the paper was a little bit more unified. She took the time to reevaluate her rhetorical situation, revise to strengthen her position within it, such as adding more references to her great-grandfather and more up-to-date facts and statistics. Okay, as it turned out, some of her statistical data was old. It was a few years old, and she had to get some updated data. Unfortunately enough, she's able to find that updated data. Okay. At the end of the revisions, she altered her introduction and conclusion to make them stronger and align them closer to the claims made within the body of the essay. You can see this transition on pages 114 and 115. Okay. Step 9, strengthening her voice. She was limited by the type of language she could use in the essay. It had to be formal language, but she had other ways to give the essay a stronger sense of her own voice. Okay. One thing was that the voice she used in the essay demonstrated her enthusiasm for the topic and how much it meant to her. Her constant attention to the rhetorical situation made a big difference. Okay, so she used the first person as she wrote, since there was no prohibition on using it in the assignment. So she's allowed to use I, and she's using I, so that she can make it a little bit more personal in nature. Okay. Other revisions help to strengthen Chloe's voice as well, such as adding material about her family's experiences. So she went into more detail about her her stepfather's situation and her grandfather's business. Strategic use of first person. Also, once again, she's telling her own family story, so it's perfectly okay for her to be in the first person telling her own story. Clarifying confusing passages using more straightforward language. So she actually had to simplify the language. You may recall a few weeks ago we talked about writing for the stupid person in the room. She kind of had to go back to that and simplify some of the language she was using so that it was a little bit more easy to understand. And then strengthening the conclusion with her own informed perspective. Okay. Now, she decided she needed to try to integrate some of the stuff she found in her research with the family information she had and her own personal story, and that helped her to realize, okay, there's a bigger picture here, and I can kind of show this bigger picture by combining all this. Okay. Finally, get to step 10, making it correct. In the end, Chloe went through the full essay and polished up the grammar, spelling. It was mostly minor fixes she needed to make in the previous draft to polish into a final draft. Now, the final essay is on page 117. If you read through it, it is in proper MLA format, although it's not double spaced because we're in a printed textbook here and we're kind of limited by the amount of space we have. The last few pages of it, page 122 and 123, are the works cited pages. I did read through the essay in the lecture. So if you want to, you can find where I start when I read this essay in the lecture and follow along with it. I do want to note her works cited page. If you take a look, if you can turn up to pages 122, 123 in the textbook, I can bring them up for you here. All right, so if you take a look at her works cited page, her works cited page is in exact MLA format. Okay, here's what this means. It's in alphabetical order. The listings are in the proper format for each listing. They have the full bibliographical information. And they are all they are all cited within the essay. That's the big thing. Finding that some people have trouble with. I've received numerous essays in the past where people have given me enormous works cited pages and barely any citations in the essay. Okay, so if you're going to use a works cited page, you have to make sure everything in that works cited page is being cited at one point or another in your essay. Otherwise, you're either not properly citing anything or you're not using them. Okay, so we need to see this when you're writing your own essays. Okay. All right. So that's it for this. That's it for the lecture slides. We'll go ahead. open it up to the open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand, and once I recognize you, go ahead and fire away. Okay, Nancy, I see you there. Go ahead.
I remember in one of the lectures you said there was this website we could look at the MLA format thing.
Yes, that's Purdue OWL.
It's what?
That's Purdue. I'm going to throw up the URL in the chat.
What is that?
All right,
It's
so the URL is up in the chat.
I still have 2 more at home. I don't know. I can't call my husband to bring them. I was thinking, I don't want it to be too full. I was thinking, yeah, we are not going to. Okay.
All right, so this website is
and then
this is the website you want to use for formatting.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so any other questions, go ahead and shoot up your hands. Okay, Cameron, I see your hand there. What's your question?
Yeah, so I had trouble finding that analysis essay, what the concept was about that we're going to have to write within our groups.
Okay, it's not a group project. Okay, you guys are writing your own. The idea here is that you need to search out a independent scholarship provider that has an essay requirement as part of the application process, and we're going to be using their essay topic as the basis for your essay for this assignment. It has to be something that can stand up to analysis.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, Shanna, I see your hand there. What's your question?
I was just wondering, what day of the week are we going to start workshopping those essays?
The workshop goes the entire week. Okay, so as early as Monday, you can go ahead and post a draft, or even if you've got a draft already, you can go ahead and post it to your team discussion board. Okay, because I usually have a designated session for doing workshopping when I'm doing in-person classes. Because I can't do that with an online class, we're not going to be able to do a single day of it. So I'm going to designate an entire week for workshopping.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right. All right. Let's see. Jillian, I see your hand there. What's your question?
So are there going to be any like tutorials specifically for your class that we can go to if we need help?
The main thing I've got is the lectures. Okay. The other thing I have for you guys is if you miss any of these collaborate sessions, I do post them to YouTube. So if you need to review any of anything we reviewed specifically in the collaborate session, you can actually view that video. Okay. One thing you know is if you missed last week, we did go through the slides for the basics of an analysis essay, and that's actually the lecture that's coming up next week. Mainly because I didn't like the order that they have me doing stuff in. So I'm going to be doing that lecture. It's going to be coming up next week, but I already went through the slides for it last Wednesday during the Collaborate session. So if you need the basics of an analysis essay, get the video up of last week's Collaborate session, and it'll be there. All right.
Moi, je n'ai pas refait beaucoup. Moi, j'ai pas working table. Je vais avoir des papiers 4 vecteurs. Avec 4 vecteurs, j'ai travaillé là.
All right, if there's no questions right now, I'm going to do one other thing with you guys, and that is give you a heads up on what we're doing as far as the lectures go for the next few weeks, and as far as assignments go. Okay, so to reiterate here, next week is the first workshop session on this analysis scholarship essay that you guys should be working on. Okay, so you will need to have a base rough draft ready. It will have to be uploaded to a reply to your team's discussion thread. You can upload files in the discussion boards. Some of you have already been doing that with some of the weekly discussion topics. Okay. You can attach a file as long as it's one of the proper file formats. Okay. I've had some people who've been having trouble with this because they've either been trying to upload a Google link or they've been trying to upload a link to a cloud system. Okay. It doesn't really work well with the cloud, so you need to have the file physically on your own computer or on your own thumb drive. Okay. But you can use that system to upload your draft, and your team's going to be able to give you feedback on the discussion board. Okay. Now I will say 1302 is already in the second week of workshopping of theirs, and one of their teams had a unique idea in that they actually set up I think they set up a Google Drive so that everyone could access the files without having to upload them to the message board, and then they're just leaving the feedback on the discussion board. Okay, so if you want to do that, you could. Okay, so that's coming up next. That's the first one of those is next week. That's the revision workshop where you're going to be looking at content. The week after that is going to be the proofreading and editing workshop, which is going to be about polish. Okay, that week is also when the essay is going to be due. So it's going to be due that Friday. I need to look at my calendar, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be October 9th, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it's October 9th. Okay, that's the final due date on this. One thing I want to make clear, though, is that week, I know for sure I'm going to have people writing me and asking me where they can turn in their essays. Okay, the link to actually turn in your final draft is not going to become active until Thursday the 8th. Okay, it's not going to unlock until Thursday the 8th because I want you guys to do one last round of workshopping with the essays. With your proofreading drafts, okay? Mainly to try to polish them up and make sure that everything is in the proper grammatical form, okay? Now, as far as future lectures are going, okay? For next week, we're going to look at the basics of the analysis essay. We're going to actually do the lecture that the slides I gave you last week correspond to. Okay, and then we get to, well, I'm just going to go ahead and share these. I'm going to share these application screens. All right, so bear with me here. So next week is the analysis format. Okay. Following week, the week that it's due. Hang on a second. Hit the wrong thing. The week that it's due, you're going to be looking at. There it is. Analytical writing tricks and tips. Okay. Which is to say, we're going to be looking at some ways that you can enhance how you're doing your analysis. This is also where we're going to get into further about logical fallacies and avoiding them as you're doing your analyses. Okay? So that's just general what we're going to be doing with that. And then
I will put it here. Okay. Yeah.
Then for week 8, which is the week after, you turn in that analysis, that's when we're going to start getting into visual analysis. This is also when we're going to get into blogging, okay? Because this will be the start of your team project, which is the blog. So first half, this is probably going to be one of the longest lectures that we do for the semester. First half is going to deal with visual analysis and how to come up with ideas for visual analysis, how to do visual analysis, what it actually is. It's more than just describing what's in the picture. It's actually trying to make implications about the meaning of what's in that picture, okay, in the context of the wider scheme of things. And then the second half of that lecture is going to be about blogging itself, about multimodal texts, and about your responsibilities as a blogger. That includes ethical use of media, that includes fair use, and that includes accounting for shifting audiences. And just to give you an idea of how much fun we're going to have with this, here's one of the slides. All right. So to give you an idea, the next big thing that's coming up is the blog, and that'll be a team project. You guys are going to have to work together on that. Now, I know that's going to be a challenge as we're doing everything remotely, but you can find a way to work with it. All right? All right, so with that being said, we'll open up for any more questions that people may have. We're going to go about 7 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and let you guys take off. So if there's any more questions that people have, go ahead, raise your hand. When I recognize you, fire away. That's all right. And for the benefit of those who are going to be watching this, since I noticed that the videos don't usually put up the chat window, I'm putting up the URL for Purdue OWL.
It's almost there. Wow. No, like it's nice. That's better. It's like so straight. Most people won't know it's crochet. That's why I put it here.
All right, somebody has a question? Yeah, it's just text. It's not going to actually click a link. Thank you. All right, folks, if there's no other questions here, we're going to go ahead and end the session. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. We'll do this again next week. And hopefully be talking over everybody's drafts next week. I'll see you guys then.